It's not about jobs versus the economy. It's both at the, jobs versus the environment. It's both at the same time. And another reason that I think is really great, I already sort of mentioned it, but fable-style storytelling is very powerful. I bet every single one of us in this room learned hard life lessons when we were like this big from animal stories. That's a tradition that's been going on since before recorded history, which is a real testament to how powerful it is. And I think it's a great, I feel really honored to be able to carry on that tradition and bring it into the current context. We start our graphic projects by traveling to the areas where people are affected by these issues the most, learning from the folks who know about these issues the best, and hearing their personal stories. So I'm going to show you some photos from the True Cost of Coal research trip. The True Cost of Coal is that graphic over on that side. It's all about mountaintop removal coal mining in Appalachia. So we traveled to Appalachia and went to see mine sites. We spoke with hundreds of people, learning about local ecology, learning about traditional lifeways, learning about how people's lives had changed since this new type of mining had come in, and learned about how people were affected in their everyday lives. We shared some of our older graphics with them, explaining to them that this is what we were trying to do, that this is what we were going to do with their stories, and that one of our goals is to uplift unheard voices. And so we asked people, what do you want us to tell the world? We'll shout it out as big as we possibly can. And hundreds of people told us hundreds of stories. We collected all those stories, brought them back to our studios in a small town in Maine, where the Beehive Collective originally started, and began compiling them, figuring out, drawing connections between them, layering similar stories up, finding similarities between different issues that people had talked about, and drawing out this sort of bigger picture. Then we came up with these picture metaphors that described the stories, and we began sketching those out. We spent days and weeks and months arguing, also known as collaborating, over our drawings. And eventually, when we were finished, we print these images as big portable murals on banners like this, and we also print them as paper posters that people can take home with them, share with friends and family, that teachers can use in their classrooms. I was actually just spent most of the day at Central High School here in La Crosse earlier. It was really great. I had some great workshops with a lot of amazing students. We go to high schools. We also go to colleges, of course. We go to church basements and cafes and backyard potlucks. We go to mass mobilizations and big protests, pretty much anywhere folks will have us. And we try to tell these stories to try to get these important conversations started. I want to take a moment to highlight the anti-copyright nature of our work. This is an early sketch of a scene from this graphic over here entitled Mesoamerica Resiste, all about resistance movements in Central America, specifically what indigenous people are doing to protect their land and their communities and their culture from industrial development and modern-day colonization. This is a story that was told to some members of our group in southern Mexico. There was a plan to develop an airport, and that airport development would have stolen the land away from a bunch of farmers. And here we see those farmers who asked to be represented as corn. They're rising up, holding machetes, and insisting that they were not going to let go of their land. And this, this is a great story because it's a success story. These folks are still on their land today. When some members of the Beehive were in Guatemala for a Latin American social forum, they saw this mural painted on a wall on the street. None of us know who did it. That's really inspiring to us, to know that the way that we represented these stories resonates with other people and feels important to them and helps them to tell their own stories is exactly what we're trying to go for here. And actually, this is a photo of a fellow who's not a part of the Beehive Collective. He was a participant at a workshop, and he stood up and said, I know what these stories are about. These are stories from my life, and I want to tell you all about them. This is when I think that we're really doing, our work is really doing the best that it possibly can. So We call ourselves the Beehive Collective because we say that our mission is to cross-pollinate the grassroots as we travel from town to town collecting stories, retelling those stories in this sort of folk tradition, sharing the latest news, the stuff you don't see on TV. And bees are these amazing little critters, right? They're these busy, proactive little agents of reproduction and evolution. And not only do we encourage other people to reproduce and remix our work, but we do that ourselves as well. We're constantly evolving our stories and the ways that we tell them. And I'm